video mode for the last 3 weeks or so. She's finding she's got to work a lot harder because she has to record the lessons and then do all the grading by emails and that sort of thing. So it's a little harder for her, but I do get to see more of her too.
Yeah.
Because we're at home.
And you do for work?
For work right now, I'm a part-time professor of philosophy at St. John's Seminary, and I'm, as I say, a recovering attorney. That's been my career for 30 years, but I went back to school several years ago. So.
Boy, you could take that a few ways. Recovering a lot of, oh, never mind. And you have how many children?
We have four children. In fact, we just finished saying our family rosary together before I came over here. Our oldest son is in Richmond, Virginia. The second son is in Pittsburgh at Carnegie Mellon. Our daughter is in Dallas, Texas right now. And our third son is in Pasadena, so he's here.
And you do it on Zoom? Or?
We did it on FaceTime.
On FaceTime.
Yeah. But it's been a really good way for us to stay together. And you hear so many bad things, and we're going through a really trying time now in our culture. But one of the dividends of this has been, it's brought us closer together with our rosary twice a week.
Wow. Nice. And everybody can get on FaceTime at the same time, or you have to have computers facing each other? Or
we've got a pretty good tech family, so it works. Yeah, works for that. So.
Yeah. Well, that's how we know you're not a priest. Keep up with the technology.
Well, I've always thought, as we're talking about this, sometimes people doubt the existence of God, and you have these challenges with faith. Whenever you see something that's bad, usually you just get a bad result. And when good things come out of bad, you know that that's only there because God is present. And this is one of those times for us. Our family rosary has become something that's really important for us.
What was it John Wooden said? Things usually turn out best for people who do the best with the way things are.
Things turn out best for those who make the best of the way things come out.
No, the way things are turn out the best for people who do the best with the way things are. That's almost word for word for John Wooden, who's a good UCLA man.
Yes. Well, and a legend and a role model for many of us.
Yeah. Anyway, we want to find a couple things we want to do tonight. But first, that's something everybody's heard about, but probably don't know too much about the Order of Malta and all the different work you do and your involvement with Malta. And I think we'll learn all about that.
Okay. Well, sure. First of all, the Order of Malta is one of the oldest religious orders in the Catholic Church. It was founded in Jerusalem officially recognized on February 15th, 1113 by Pope Pascal II. But we'd been working there for probably 30 or 40 years before that.
Okay. Pope Pascal II?
Pope Pascal II.
So is San Pasqual named after him?
I don't know. I don't know that actually, but it could well have been. Yeah. But he was there, and it's kind of ironic how it was formally recognized. The order, the hospital at the time, the Hospital of St. John in downtown Jerusalem, was getting so many gifts that some of the bishops in the area decided that they should get a cut of the proceeds coming in. And so there's a petition made to the Pope, and he placed the order and the hospital under the protection of the Holy See and made it exempt from all taxation. And that has existed for 900 years. So our mission is to help the poor and the sick, especially those who are pilgrims, to help them go to pilgrimage sites, to help return to the Lord, and then to take care of their material and spiritual needs, going to and then going back, in a nutshell.
Which pilgrimage sites?
Well, Jerusalem, the Holy Land, was our primary site from the 11th century until 1197, when we had to exit rather quickly because of certain problems that existed then. And then we were in Rhodes for about 250 years, Rhodes. and then went to Malta. And we were in Malta until 1798 when this guy named Napoleon stopped by on his way to Egypt and decided to kind of empty the island of all of its gold and silver and take everything. And then we have been, since 1834, our headquarters has been in Rome on the Via Condotti right by the Spanish Steps. So we are still a sovereign entity. We have a permanent seat at the United Nations, formal diplomatic relations with the Vatican and then 110 other countries. And we are working now in 120 countries providing the service. And it's always free of charge. So we have a hospital in Bethlehem called the Holy Family Hospital. Last year, there were over 4,000 births there at the Holy Family Hospital in Bethlehem. And that's sponsored by the Order of Malta.
Wow. So if someone said, watching this and said, I want to become a member of the order.
We have over 4,000 knights and dames in the United States as a whole, and about 850 in the Western United States. And you can go on the internet and find Order of Malta Western.us, which would be the Western United States, or just orderofmalta.int for international, and that can show you the whole list of all the associations in the world and what we do and how to get involved.
And what do you do the most now?
So we're a lay religious order, and what that means is there's some people who give their entire lives to the work of the order, and some who are only able to work on a few weekends a year. It depends on your state in life, but it's a lifetime commitment to the church, to defend the faith, and then to demonstrate that faith by tangible works. We're a hands-on group. So.
I got a lot of questions.
Sure.
But I'm cutting you out, John.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What would be the difference between the Knights of Malta and the Knights of the Holy Sepulchre, for example?
Okay. Well, the Order of Malta is a religious order. The Equestrian Order is not a religious order. It's a confraternity, and it's led by a cardinal. So it has been endorsed by the Pope and the Holy See, so it's officially recognized and all that. But it's not a religious order in the same way. The works between the two are very good, but they're also very different, which reflects some of the richness of the church, because the Holy Sepulchre is specifically focused on the Holy Land sites and supporting Christians who live in the Holy Land. Our work is worldwide, and we don't discriminate in terms of the health care that we provide or the services we provide. It's without regard to race, religion, culture. And in fact, I can't say this officially, but after the Syrian crisis happened, where we were taking care of hundreds of thousands of refugees, we possibly were treating and caring for more Muslims than Christians at that phase in time in terms of our worldwide activities. And that's also a great source of conversion, but we preach with our hands.
Yeah. What have you been doing during the coronavirus?
Well, Father John and I were talking about that, because the first thing that we did was to stop, because we have over 50 charities that we support in the Western United States, and the first thing that we had to do was to stop all group gatherings and all direct outreach to the homeless, because we weren't sure whether we would be passing on the virus to people who are very susceptible. The ones in the homeless are particularly, they have compromised immune systems already, and so they would be the most vulnerable. What we've learned, though, in the last 3 weeks is there are several things that we can do safely and still serve them. And so we are building hygiene kits at home rather than gathering at a parish or at a center. And then we're distributing through the homeless centers where they can congregate, pick up what they need, but do so with social distancing in mind.
What's in a hygiene package?
Pretty much everything that you use in the morning and everything you use at night, if you think about that.
Rolls of toilet paper,
toothpaste, tissue, toothpaste. razor,
that's
shaving cream.
Toilet
So-
paper is a big deal right now.
Yeah. Socks. Almost one of the most important things that the people we serve, and we call them our lords, the poor and sick, are clean socks. And they need socks constantly because they don't have laundry services and stuff. So generally they wear the socks for several days until they're on the point of wearing down. And so that's something we always try to include. And also now hand sanitizer
Yeah.
bottles. That we,
You know, I had an experience with socks years ago. It sounds funny, but this is probably around 2001 or something like that, 2001. Had a week off after Easter, get those 5 days off after Easter, and I decided that I was going to do a little pilgrimage walk from West LA to the top of Mount Baldy.
in your socks.
No, that would have been harder. But in any case, you know, I was walking. I arranged churches to stay at, and each night, and got to downtown LA, right around Cesar Chavez Avenue, and where were they at the gas station? I don't know if that's Broadway or Hill or something. I was walking by, and there was a homeless guy, young guy, and he had taken off his shoes and socks, and he was looking at his socks, and they were black.
Mm-hmm.
They were just. I'm thinking. I mean, honestly, I've never seen. And you could see it just enough till they used to be white, but they were just so dark, and he's just staring at it like this. And I'm thinking, he's really not going to put those on his feet again, is he? He can't.
And he's probably trying to figure out whether he could.
Well, so I was carrying a little backpack. So I reached in and opened up the backpack and got a clean pair of socks and said to him, "Hey," and he's what? I said, "Here, you can use these or something," and gave it to him. And the first thing he did, he takes it and just staring at white socks. And the second thing he did, though, that made it memorable for me was he just took them and smelled them. They smelled clean. And I just, you know, as I was walking away, he's just there.
Yeah.
Broke my heart.
Yeah. Well, it's a very kind gesture. That's a good thing. Well, we'd love to have you come down sometime and cook breakfast on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Start out at about 6:30. We serve coffee. Everyone lines up basically, and then they get a hot breakfast as much as they can eat, and we serve it waiter style, not cafeteria style. We wait on them,
Like that.
and it's called Malta Cafe on the street. That's what
Is
they
that
call
right?
it.
Where do you do
Where
it?
is it? It's at the St. Francis Center on South Hope Street.
Uh-huh.
So.
Is that like around 11?
Oh no!
No.
This would be about
that's St.
21st, 22nd.
Uh-huh.
It's about a mile and a half south of the city.
That would be St. Francis Parish, probably.
Oh no! This is the St. Francis Center. So it was put together by the Franciscans in the 1960s.
Huh.
Father Matt down there?
Sorry?
Is Father Matt Elshoff down there?
No, Father Matt is he's in Watts now. I've got a parish down there, and we're working on an alliance with him too. He's extraordinary.
I remember a few years ago, my godchildren that I see every week, their father's a chef.
Hmm. That's nice.
He moved from Regent Beverly, Wilshire, to motion picture catering because your hours are less and your pay triples, and you get vacations and holidays off and things like that you don't get.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know now after this is over, but in any case, one time he decided to take, because he does the show right now for the last 8 or 9 years, NCIS LA.
Oh, he caters it.
He's the cash chef for that out of the company that he
Wow.
works for. But he talked to the owner of the company, and he took the catering truck, and we decided to go downtown and park where there are a lot of homeless and just start cooking breakfast. And he planned for like 200 people or something, and at some point he got worried because the line got so long. He said, "Oh my gosh, we're going to have a riot because I'm never going to have enough food for all of these people. What am I going to do?" And he said to me, "Take the kids and take them to McDonald's or somewhere to eat, because if anything goes wrong, I don't want them here." And my godchildren were small back then.
Uh-huh.
So I took like 5 kids and we went to McDonald's and sat and ate, and we met up with them later. He said, "You're not going to believe it. It was like the miracle of the loaves and fishes." because I kept trying to stretch and how am I going to do this and blah, blah, blah. And he said, we ran out of food on the last person.
No, that's a sign.
Yeah, he said, I don't know how that happened, but the last person in line got the last bit of all the food.
That's beautiful. That is.
Yeah, it was. Anyway, and we had two families who you were going to send to Lourdes, Order Malta sends.
Yes, we have, each year we have a selection process, so we can take between 50 and 55 malades from the Western United States. I call them malades because that's the French term for a patient. So these are people who generally have very severe illnesses, and it's an opportunity for us to be with them. And what we call the 3 Ps. We pray, we process, and we party. There's daily mass, so it's a celebration of what we do together. But also, sometimes there's some grieving that goes on. And we have late night, what we call grotto runs, because our hotel is about 2 or 3 minutes from the grotto.
Yeah.
So we can walk there at night and just be able to be with them and pray quietly with them. And they get to do what I think is the greatest gift our Blessed Mother has given us, which is you get to go to the grotto and think about all those heavy rocks you've been carrying around for a few months or maybe years. You get to drop them off at the grotto, and Our Lady takes care of them. And I've seen those rocks getting dropped off, and I've seen that renewal, spiritual life and happiness, and also the physical healings have also
Have you seen physical healings?
We have, yes. We have. Some spectacular cases, including a couple from our Carmelite sisters from Alhambra who have come with us. A couple of seriously ill ones, and they're living, thriving, serving, and very grateful for that opportunity.
Wow.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. When do you think you'll be able to start that up again?
Good question. We were scheduled to go to Lourdes in 3 weeks from now, and unfortunately we had to cancel that about 3 weeks ago when it became clear that it was not going to be safe.
Yeah.
We've also have a teenage Lourdes pilgrimage that goes in mid-June, and we've had to cancel that too for the same reason.
We had a mission trip planned from the parish from August 8th through 15th, and we canceled that because it's unknowable.
Yeah.
So it'll be safe to go if it won't be.
I'm hopeful that the one pilgrimage that we've got open right now for the summer, it's to Champion, Wisconsin, to Our Lady of Good Help. We do that with the other associations on the East Coast, so it's all the knights and dames in the United States are invited to go to this. And it's in just outside of Green Bay, Wisconsin. And we're there for the first weekend in August. And we have an Order Malta clinic there, a hospitality center that also provides first aid for anyone who's there. And so that's one of our volunteer services.
Do you have to wear a cheese head?
Not while we're on duty.
Right. That trip is postponed, yeah, not fully canceled.
The one in August is on.
This one that was coming up in 3 weeks.
Yeah, well, it has been canceled. We go every year. So one of the things that we did when we had to share this bad news is we let all of the malades, the patients who were invited to come with us, we bear all the costs, is we let them know you are automatically invited to go on the trip for 2021. You still have to go through health clearance to make sure it's safe, but if you're safe and you want to come, you can come. Right? And we hope that at that point in time, the coronavirus won't be a threat to anybody, and obviously the health concern, health comes first. So we have to make sure that we're not doing anything that would be injurious to any of our malades. Those are the people we truly come to love during that week together.
Yeah, I'm assuming a few of them at least would have compromised immune systems as well because of some of that. In some cases.
A majority.
Yeah.
A majority do because of the illnesses and the therapies that they've had to undergo.
All right, part 2.
We could talk about the order forever. We've got 900 years to talk about it.
I'm going to take advantage here. What seminary did you go to, John?
I was with the Legionaries of Christ. I did 2 years of novitiate in Connecticut, and then a year in Spain, 8 years in Rome.
11 years?
12, it took 12 in all. Yeah.
12 in all.
Yeah, we're slower than the rest. It
I was
doesn't.
going to say,
It
those
takes,
must be some do-over years, huh?
oh, it takes a lot longer for us to learn than others.
Well, I was going to say, it's like the people who spend 5 years in 8th grade and graduate from high school at 25.
Yep, that's bottom line.
Sounds
Wow.
like a great program, though.
Yeah. Because, Mike, you teach at the seminary, which is an entirely different system than
Yes, well, that's a great formation system in Rome. The St. John's Seminary in Camarillo is the seminary for the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, but also Orange County, Monterey, San Bernardino Diocese, and in Tucson, as well as a couple others, yeah.
Did Phoenix ever come back, or they?
I don't know what the current status with Phoenix is right now. I think they are at another place still.
They are. They were still with us when I was there.
Yeah.
And then I'm not sure what happened.
And it's normally a 6-year program at St. John's. 2 years of philosophy, what they call pre-theology, but
Yeah.
I call it philosophy. And then 4 years of theology studies, along with another year that's a long internship in a parish. And then ordination, and we hope assignments to support the Archdiocese.
Yeah. I had interns for 3 years in a row from the seminary. Very interesting time. 2 of them are doing exceptionally well, and one did not get ordained.
Well, the quality standards are very high at the seminary, and that's an important thing. You want to make sure that the vocation is there, but also all of the personal skills and the mental acumen to be a good priest are present as well.
As a layperson, what is the most important quality that a seminarian should have?
Well, I think the most important quality would be love for the Lord, because if Jesus Christ is not at the center of your faith, then I think being a priest, or even being a Christian at all, is a kind of farce.
Yep.
But it's especially true if there's a seminarian or a priest who doesn't have that quality. That your relationship with Christ has to be number one. In addition to that, I would look for an intellectual curiosity. The priesthood is a people business. You've got to like people and want to know more about people. And there are lots of different disciplines that you need to have a handle on in order to be able to address the people and their needs when they come to you. And then a joy to serve. If you're not there with a sense of joy, then no matter how strong your will is, I want to be a priest, my parents want me to be a priest, it's not a good decision.
Yeah.
So, but there's a lot of counseling that goes on now. The seminary is very supportive of seminarians coming in who've expressed an interest, and I think they get very good formation. They work really hard too. The normal graduate school class, if you're in graduate school, typically you would take 2, 3, maybe 4 courses on the outside, while the seminarians take about 7 or 8 courses. Plus they have special seminars that kind of parachute in when, say, Bishop Barron has a special event, and so that kind of upsets the class schedule.
Oh.
They are always working and moving from one event to the next.
I remember it well. When I decided, so one of the professors, Jack Brennan, said to me, why aren't you working on your MA? Because you get the MDiv automatically.
Right.
Why aren't you working on your MA? And I thought, I don't know. Just didn't think about it, Jack. He said, well, get your butt moving and let's, going. So 1 semester to catch up on the electives you needed on top of it. I took 9 classes.
That's just a killer.
It was a killer, but I had to catch up on the electives.
Uh-huh.
Honestly, it took the whole summer to recover from that. Because it was a killer. But I got through it.
You have in your seminary Americans, people from Asia, people from Latin America. As a professor, how how is it teaching to a very international and a very diverse educational background?
Well, that actually hasn't been my experience.
Okay.
I think if you go back 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
St. John's Seminary was very international, and there were actually very few Angelinos who were in the seminary.
Okay.
There are about 100 seminarians there now, and I would say 85 to 90 are from Los Angeles or the area.
Very interesting. Okay.
And one of the things that's especially been impressive to me is there's been a big percentage increase in Hispanic vocations. And I think Archbishop has done just a superb job with the seminary. He's made it open, made it inviting. He's let people, the young men there, say, imagine what it would be like to be a priest. I think that's the hardest thing with a seminary, because if you're a young adult and you're trying to think about what your career path is, you need to be able to see in your mind's eye, what would I be like in 5 years or 10 years in this career? And it's difficult if the priests that you know are in their 70s or 80s. You're a young man in your 20s and you're trying to imagine what would I be like for me as a priest when I'm 30. That's about as far ahead as a young person can imagine. So I couldn't even imagine that far when I was in my 20s, probably not more than 6 months.
Yeah.
But when you meet a young priest who's in love with his career, who's in love with his vocation, then that makes that imagining that much easier. And I think Archbishop Jose has brought in some great young priests who are excited about what they're doing. And then he sets the example. You can tell he loves being a priest.
Yeah. What a grace.
What do you think of the average age now?
It's it's certainly a little bit older than it was 15, 20 years ago, because I think the general sense is for the seminary, having good life experience beforehand just makes you a lot more settled, a lot better priest, because you can relate to people and their needs. I guess I would say the average age of the ones who are coming in, and I have seminarians in their very first year studies. Average age is probably around 28. So there may be in early 30s, and some are still under 25.
Well, that's my experience, because after I finished college and a year of grad school, broke my hip and had a year recovery from that.
Oh.
And then got hit by motorcycles. That's another story. But anyway, and then worked for 16 years teaching before I entered, and that experience paid off in spades.
Well, everything that you've learned, you bring to your new profession. It enriches it.
But even just having to take care of yourself and pay bills and have a budget and live within your means, and I mean, it paid off like I can't believe.
And so when it comes time to talking to families who are having trouble, you understand.
What particular part of philosophy do you teach?
Well, two different sections. Actually, three. Lay it out. The first is political philosophy, which is studying Socrates, Aristotle, Aquinas I bring in, but Hobbes and Locke, Rousseau, Nietzsche, and then some of the 20th century political philosophers. And I love that lineage there of philosophers and how they have contributed certain ideas, improved or critiqued the ideas of the philosophers before them, and then try to add something. I also teach, it's called philosophy of nature. So it's essentially Aristotelian physics, but it has a fair amount of philosophy too. And then finally, last year I got to teach truly my favorite course, which was Introduction to Thomas Aquinas. And that was Thomas Aquinas, the philosopher, not the theologian. And also Thomas Aquinas, the poet.
Metaphysics or
Metaphysics, philosophy, but also his learning really how to encounter the Summa Theologiae, and get comfortable with it. And hopefully make Thomas Aquinas your friend. And that's really how I view him. Tell the seminarians, don't think of Thomas Aquinas as a saint, because you don't want to put him up on a pedestal. He's a student along with you. He loved to learn. He wants to be with you. And if you can develop a friendship with Thomas, so that when you've got these questions on theology or philosophy, and like any good friendship, if you've got a question, you go to your friend. What do you think? And the Summa is right there as a resource. So we don't, in my class in philosophy, we don't call him St. Thomas. We call him Thomas, but we also don't call him Tommy.
I heard Clayton Barbo say one talking about the saints, Saint Teresa and Saint Teresa, Big Terry and Little Terry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was there, Pat Mitchell taught philosophy along with Rhonda Churton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but Pat taught us one of the most important things I ever learned from Socrates. The beginning of wisdom is knowing that you don't know.
Correct. That's right.
That has stuck with me for
Yeah.
27 years now.
That also gives you a little bit of intellectual humility.
Yeah.
Very necessary.
So,
It's a,
what's the best part of the seminary? The strongest thing going there, you think?
well, for me, I like the liturgy, the hours there. I try to get there. I stay overnight when I'm teaching, so I'm there for 2 days.
Up in the tower?
Not in the tower. No. I'm in the dormitories with the seminarians. I'm just one of the common guys. But they have a room for me where I get to stay, and it gives me a chance to study as well. But to be there and be in that habit of just the morning prayer, and Vespers, just the cycle of the day with daily Mass is, for me, the best experience. Great guys. They're very excited about their career path. And to see them go along this path, there's some steep parts of that path sometimes. There's some difficult moments. They're being asked to do a tremendous amount. But the joy for me is watching them give 100% and then see that reward come back.
Yeah.
And you can tell there's some great priests in formation there.
And what do you think is the greatest need in the
Greatest
seminary?
need? Oh, well, there are extra rooms. There's a shortage of men who are ready to make that commitment. And I think it's because they just don't know enough priests now. They don't know what a great career it is, what a great way of life, a great vocation, and the happiness that I have seen come from that. I've never been called to the priesthood. It's never something that even crossed my mind. I remember talking with the priest once about the religious orders and the cloistered religious. And I was maybe 14 or 15 at the time, and this was in the early 70s, and I just kind of got shoved off. You don't want to do that.
That
So
was
which
a
is-
real tough time in the church.
It was. Yeah. So disappointed in a way because I was kind of shocked that I'd be told you don't want to do that. But it also, I think, led me to married vocation, which is what I truly feel called to do. But at the same time, there's this intense love that I have for the priest and the priesthood because of the example that they set and the commitment that they have to the community.
Yeah.
That's where you see so much virtue, and that's what's sadly lacking in much of our society, where we're focused on how much we can get instead of how much we can give.
Didn't Kennedy say that? Ask not what you can.
Ask what your country can do. Yeah. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Yeah.
That's the opposite of today.
We've got it flipped around pretty much. But I think that this introspection that we're going through right now during the last few weeks, I think has caused a lot of people to maybe think differently. We're suffering right now because of our isolation and not being able to do the things we want to do. But I think some of the things that we've been forced to give up might turn out not to be quite that important.
Yeah.
And I hope that part at least lingers on when we get past this.
I got a couple things here.
Okay.
The most important thing I learned, the two important things I learned that first year in the seminary. One was Socrates. The beginning of wisdom is knowing that you don't know. The second came from Rhonda Sherwin, and it's interesting that first year, two things stick out, and both were from philosophy. But she said, and it was her own philosophy, you seminarians, this is the tail end of her teaching there, she said, you seminarians, you guys are smart. You have these big, big, big heads. And you have these little tiny shrunken hearts. And it should be the opposite. You should have these big hearts and smaller heads.
Mm-hmm.
Now that was my first year. Would you say the same thing now?
I wouldn't say that. No, I think this crew, the last 5 years or so, you're seeing the average age coming into the seminary going down, and you're seeing men who are much more intensely committed to the church, to the faith, not the diluted version or the cafeteria Catholic thing, but really saying, let's embrace what the magisterium of the church says. Full on. And then test it out. Is that really a source of truth and joy, or is it a deception? And if it turns out, as I think most of us here think, after lots of introspection and exploration, it is a source of truth. It is a source of joy. Embrace it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah. Sometimes somebody will say to me about an old guy, we'll be talking about something, oh, that's old-fashioned. And I said, well, yes, it is. You know how it got old? Because it works.
It works, right?
It works. Right. If it didn't work, it wouldn't hang around for centuries. Well, old values are a good thing. Second thing.
Yes.
I asked one of my interns one time, so if I were to poll the seminary, who would they say was the greatest theologian of all time? Now, I thought, stupid me, I thought, okay, most people say Thomas Aquinas. If they don't say Thomas, they might go to
Honestly?
Yeah. And if they don't say to him, they've taken Jack Brennan. Maybe somebody will say Karl Rahner. Yes. I didn't get any of those. I didn't get a single one. I didn't get any of those. They'd say, they would say Pope Benedict.
Oh, okay.
That caught me. It never even entered my head. Cardinal Ratzinger, under Ratzinger.
Well, I think Karl Rahner in the 60s and 70s, maybe even up to 1980 or so, might have been at the top of the list or close to it.
Yeah.
But
you don't hear about him anymore.
No, not much. I would like to teach more Aquinas at the seminary than just an introductory course. But Aquinas permeates several different theological courses through the program for the seminary. But for me, I think probably the most underappreciated living theologian in the world is Pope Benedict.
Yeah.
400 or 500 years from now, we will still be reading Pope Benedict. And you can't say that about many theologians we have in the last 100 years. His writing style is so clear and crisp. There's not a word. There isn't any bit of punctuation that's wasted. What he writes comes out so well in translation. I'm shocked at how crisp the English is.
Yeah,
that's true.
And you can tell, obviously, he's very solid in his knowledge of theology and love of the church.
But also, he would go from his office at lunchtime, and he would cross St. Peter's Square alone. And anybody could come up to him, and he was going to lunch, and he'd spend 5, 10, 15 minutes with you. And you could go, and you could ask him any questions, and I could not believe the humility of the man.
Mm-hmm.
He, for me, was the most humble. I mean, so many cardinals, going along this self-importance. But my experience with him was he would start asking you all types of questions, and he'd go on, well, I'm going to pray for you. And wow.
In what language?
Did it in Spanish? Did it in English? Did it in Italian? I was with different people at different times, and all three of them. And he switched from one to another without without thinking.
Oh, he's.
It was very, very, I mean, just like, wow.
Mhm.
So, did you see the movie The Two Popes?
You know, I haven't.
Did you?
I started it, and after about 10 minutes, I couldn't see it anymore. It was such a caricature. I don't know.
I didn't see it because I knew it was going to bother me. I've heard from other people, oh, it's so wonderful, it's so wonderful. I don't know, but the reason I'm saying I'm going to read while we're off right now. I've got a copy of the original screenplay,
Oh,
and I said, when you read that, somebody told me when you read the dialogue, instead of seeing the acting and the characterization, you're really not going to like it. So go ahead and read it.
well, the way I understand this, I haven't seen the screenplay,
Yeah.
but I understand that it was created by, or recreated by, taking out actual quotes from both popes. So they were public statements that were actually made by them, but then reassembled in order to fit this image that the author of the screenplay wanted to project.
Yeah.
You could take anything out of context and do a hit job.
That's the potential problem. Yeah.
For me, Benedict is the most humble and loving and caring, and that's not the portrayal at all.
How did they portray him?
As arrogant, doesn't want to change, just proud, judgmental. If you asked anybody who worked with him at the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, they would all say he would first ask everybody's opinion and listen and ask questions before he gave what he would say, because he didn't want to influence anybody. And that's the type of guy he was. And the picture is he's, wanting to hold on to the old conservative, and he doesn't want any ideas. Well, the truth is, in the Second Vatican Council, he was one of the most progressive cardinals.
Yeah.
And he,
Priest at the time. Yeah, he was just a young priest.
and yet none of that comes out. Mm-hmm. And it just, you get this very arrogant, very almost psychologically warped. And I don't know.
But anyone watching the movie, but also understanding that Pope Benedict resigned, that's completely inconsistent with being power hungry and arrogant and all that. He's very humble. He left and
his love for the church,
avoided, stepped out of the historical pattern precisely because he thought it was in the best interest of the church. That was sacrificial on his part.
Absolutely. True.
So, well, I've never had the pleasure of meeting him, but I've often thought if I did have a chance to meet him, I would want to just say thank you for the gift of his intellect and his great skills, his prayerfulness, his support, his love for the church. He set an amazing example.
Yeah, this whole theology of communion and everything else that came from him, just wow. Mm-hmm. Incredible.
We're now 45 minutes into a 30-minute discussion.
Are we?
I could stay here all night though, but anyway. Okay, announcement. So tomorrow we will be having the Mass of the Lord's Supper on Guadalupe Radio on their YouTube channel at 5 p.m. There will be Good Friday service.
I think it's
Guadalupe.
3.
English at 3?
I believe English at 3.
We'll know this by tomorrow.
Yes.
For sure. Saturday we will be doing an Easter Vigil. And the time I'm not sure about yet.
Yeah, they were talking around 7 o'clock.
Yeah, it's going to be a modified Easter Vigil in English and then Spanish. And Sunday will be Easter Sunday Mass. I'm presuming that'll be at 5 also.
Yes.
So we're going to be keeping Holy Week.
Be busy.
Yeah, I can't wait till Saturday so I can have coffee again.
Well, let me mention one thing that all the knights and dames in the Order of Malta will be doing throughout the United States for this vigil. On Holy Saturday at sunset, we will be lighting a candle and make it part of a public display about our candle as representing, as reminding us of Christ the light, Christ our Savior, the risen Christ. And we've made that commitment throughout the United States to do that. And we would invite anyone who wants to share that to light a candle at sunset, wherever you are, on Saturday.
I like that. I like that.
Sorry, I'm thinking analytically. How do you define it sunset? When it gets dark, or just when you
When
can't
it
see the
gets
sun
dark,
anymore?
it's a very natural, actually, Jewish concept. I mean, sunset is when the Sabbath starts. In this case, the Sabbath would be ending because Sabbath starts at sunset on Friday.
Right.
But for us, you know when it's dark
Yeah.
when the sun sets because it's getting dark.
Yeah.
And it helps us, again, be connected a little bit more to nature too.
Yeah.
So turn the lights off, turn the candle on, say a prayer.
Amen. I like it. Amen. All right. Glory be to the Father, to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit.
As
As was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end.
Amen.
Amen. And we will be here Holy Thursday, but we will be here tomorrow,
Amen.
Sunday through Thursday. All right. Good night.